What's up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or, of course, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And, Andrew, we're here for another episode of our UNC football ISO series. Been rolling these out all throughout the offseason, really going back to right after spring practice ended, in the double digits now. So if you haven't seen the videos we've been doing, go check those out. You can find a playlist on our channel, and you can also check out our UNC basketball ISO series videos that we've done as well. Going to be focusing on Emery Simmons in this one, obviously a wide receiver for the Tar Heels. But before we do that, make sure you head on over to TarHeelIllustrated.com after this video is just done. Links in the description below. Click on it. It'll take you right there. And sign up to be a premium member for just $8.33 a month. There's so much recruiting stuff going on right now. Dina, David, AJ, all been grinding on that throughout the offseason, with the dead period finally lifting after that long, 15-month pause or so. Crazy amount of time that it went by. So definitely keep it locked to that. If you want to get a little more insight into who's visiting Carolina, kind of what's going on behind the scenes of recruiting, whether it's football or basketball, you can get that by being signed up. And we also have premium articles. Most of the recruiting stuff we put out, you can only access if you're a premium member. So sign up for just $8.33 a month. Get signed up before the season starts as well. And you're a diehard Carolina fan, I don't think you'll regret it, especially for that low price. But, AJ, let's dive into Emery Simmons, man. Wide receiver, played 11 games for the Tar Heels, started in 8 last season, 15 receptions for 201 yards and 1 touchdown. I'm going to be honest, when I think of Emery Simmons, I think of that Notre Dame catch. Outstanding catch in the end zone for him in that game that was really kind of showed the potential that he had. I mean, we've seen glimpses of it. We've seen him come in after Bo Corrales in particular got injured, missed a majority of last season. We kind of saw Emory Simmons step into that starting role for him. And I thought he looked good. He's always a guy that had a lot of potential, maybe just because of how loaded the receiver room has been over the past couple of seasons. When you consider Corrales, like I mentioned, you also had guys like De'Ami Brown and Daz Newsome that are, currently in NFL camps right now. So wasn't a ton of opportunities. But I think when Bo went down, I thought Emery was a guy that kind of stepped in and was at least comparable to what Bo was able to do. And I think that catch against Notre Dame in particular, I was close to that end zone for that one, really showed, okay, this kid's got it. He can make some plays, and just tossing a ball up to him and he can go get it. And he's not the biggest kid in the world. And I think we really realized that when we were up close and personal with him during spring ball a few months ago. He's not the biggest kid in the world, but he's an athlete and a guy that can really be a positive receiver for the Tar Heels. So I guess we'll start off with, AJ, just overall thoughts on Emery Simmons' career in Chapel Hill so far, and even can maybe touch on some of your takeaways from the spring for him in particular.
Well, he was trending toward getting on the field before Bo went down. Anyway, he played 63 snaps against State, and that was a couple weeks before, or maybe the game before Florida State when Bo got hurt. He was able to give them another guy that could run routes, pretty solid blocker downfield, which is really, really important for Lonnie Galloway with his guys. All those big runs you saw Michael Carter and Javonte Williams get, the offensive line gave him holes, and the wide receivers blocked downfield. Go back and look at some of those clips and look at some of the blocking by the receivers. Emery Simmons was involved in that, and he can be an even better blocker downfield. So he was trusted. He was reliable. He ran the good routes. He wasn't off that prolific in part because they had other guys that were. And De'Ami was just amazing last season. So I think what you get from Emery is a guy that can be someone who gets over the top of the defense. I don't think he's got blinding speed. He's not Josh Downs, but he can still get over the defense, especially with the more options that they're going to have out there this year. I think he could be a possession receiver guy. But I think, like you pointed out with the Notre Dame game, I think he's someone that's going to be able to make them the big play at times. And what's really important is having I don't want to call him a third option because that would be a slight to him, but let's say he is the third option when he's on the field with Bo and Josh Downs, okay? Maybe there's 4 receivers out there and Joffrey's out there and he's another one. He's a guy that defenses are going to have to be aware of because he's capable of making plays. And I think we're going to see that emerge from him this year. He played 299 snaps last year. He was only targeted 24 times. That's not a lot of targets. I think what we're going to see with Carolina's passing game this year is the targets are going to be spread out a lot more. You're not going to probably find a 1,000-yard receiver unless Downs hits on a lot of big plays or Joffrey does, and they're certainly capable of that. But what I really like about this wide receiver core is that there are guys like Emery Simmons in it. I think that they give it depth. They give it, he gives it a little bit of maturity because it's kind of a young group. So he and Bo are going to be the older guys there. And he's come through. That TD catch gets there today. That's big stage, man.
Yeah.
And, you were a big-time soccer player in high school, Jacob. You understand when you played the better teams and you did something well in those games, just elevate your mind.
Oh, confidence.
And so he had that opportunity late. Some of the guys in this receiving core had big moments late in last season. And I think Emery's someone, I don't think he's going to catch 80 passes. I could be wrong. But I also don't think he's going to be someone who doesn't get targeted that much. He's going to be a really nice complementary piece who may have some big games every once in a while. But by the way, he was a pretty highly touted prospect.
Yeah.
Carolina flipped him from Penn State. So this kid, it's not like some people criticize Larry's recruiting, especially now when juxtaposed against what Mac's doing. Larry was able to bring in some good kids, and this program was able to get him in as well because Larry was on him early on. So they flipped him from Penn State, and Larry was on him a lot before that. So this is a kid that could have gone a lot of places, and he's in this program. And that's what's really interesting about North Carolina is the quality of recruits that are now going to be taking on what some people might call complementary roles with the ability to have the big game. I don't want to sell Emory short here. I don't want him thinking that either. I just think that they're going to throw it all over the place to a lot of different guys. And we may not see anybody have the kind of year Diami had the last 2 seasons.
No, yeah, definitely not. And, Emery's a guy, too, that in the spring game, I believe, I'm 99% sure it was him based on my memory of the clip. And I'll throw it in this video as well. They made a big-time catch in that game, too. He has that ability. And he has that ability to do things like that. And that's not something you can really coach a guy like that catch against Notre Dame to go up and do. You kind of either have that playmaking ability or you don't. And I think based on the glimpses we've seen, Emery Simmons is a guy that has it. Now, last thing I kind of want to talk about, let's dive into that position group a little bit, and that'll kind of attain to him in the last question I want to ask you. We've kind of talked about who we think the potential starters will be in previous videos at that wide receiver position. You've got a guy like Joffrey Brown, Josh Downs, and Bo Corrales. You're probably expecting those guys to be the dudes that get the majority of reps. Then you've got a guy like Emery Simmons behind him. Antoine Green's right there behind him, who I thought had a really good spring. I think some of the coaches told us that as well. So you look at that core. I mean, they want to have guys. I mean, they want to have as many guys that they feel comfortable throwing out as possible, especially when you consider that Carolina likes to throw the ball around and has a lot of playmakers at that position. Now, it's a lot of unproven guys. I mean, you got to replace a lot of yards with the likes of Diami and Daz leaving in particular from last year's team. So there is a room for people to come up and step up and get those yards and be those playmakers. And obviously Simmons is a guy that's been there and done that and shown that he can do a little bit of that. So last question I kind of want to ask you, when you look at that group as a whole, where do you see Emory Simmons maybe fitting in? Do you think he starts? Do you think he's a guy that's maybe first or second receiver off the bench? How do you see that kind of working out?
He's gonna play a lot of snaps. I think he's going to be he's going to be a 30, 35 snap a game guy.
A key member of that rotation for sure.
He's going to be a key member of that rotation. There might be games where he plays a lot more. And again, he could be more productive than a lot of people are projecting. We don't really know. And that's what's kind of exciting about that group is, we assume that Bo's going to catch 60 balls, or 50, 60 balls. We assume Josh Downs is going to be near that range. I think Bo's going to get a lot of play time because he can do so many things. And you need that corner of the end zone guy as well. And Bo's had a knack for making big plays in the past as well. I think the better blockers who run good routes are going to be the guys that are on the field a lot. And of course, there's the explosive nature. People tend to think of Downs and Joffrey Brown as more explosive. And Bo's track record is what his track record is. It's pretty good. So Emory will be a significant part of the rotation. I think at the very worst, he's the fourth receiver. But I still think that Bo, Downs, and Joffrey Brown are going to be the top three receivers, but there's plenty of room in there for Emery Simmons to do a lot of stuff. I also think they're going to use the tight ends a little bit more. Garrett Walston was only targeted 24 times last year too. And I think they're going to target him more. I think you're going to see double tight end stuff with Morales out there as well. That'll affect the wide receiver situation. And they believe that they could eventually have some depth there at wide receiver, some guys, because J.J. Jones showed some pretty good things in the spring. There's dudes there that have a lot of potential. Yeah. It's just when is that potential tapped and how much can they help out? But Emery's a guy they know at the very minimum what they're going to be. They're going to get a solid receiver who could do some nice things for him. It'll be determined this fall if he can do more. And I think that the ceiling is pretty high there. If he can do more, it's just a matter of if he will or not.
Yeah, and I mean, probably got the best relationship with Sam Howell as well. Obviously, the guys that roomed together over the past few years. Yeah. Don't know if they're still rooming together. I'd have to ask him, probably, but they definitely built quite the relationship. And if any two guys know each other well, it's got to be Sam Howell and Emery Simmons. So I'm sure they've thrown a lot of balls to each other outside of practicing games as well.
Well, Sam's other buddy that he threw a lot with, away from the football, or at least away from structured stuff, was De'Ami Brown. It turned out pretty well for De'Ami.
Yeah, it turned out very well for De'Ami Brown, who's obviously with the Washington football team right now. So I'm sure he'll be a big-time player for them as well. He's expected to be. So, yeah, I mean, Emery Simmons, he'll be a guy I'm watching. There's a few guys in particular on both sides of the ball I've kind of talked about that, come fall camp we'll be kind of keeping an eye on. And I think Emery Simmons is one of those key guys because I think we have the understanding of who probably is going to start, and that could change. It's not concrete right now. But Emery Simmons is a guy based on what we've seen last year with Bo Corrales coming back. He's got the experience and has been there, kind of done that. Let's see what kind of strides he can make this year, maybe having a little bit different of a role, but still having an important role based on what he brings to the table.
And starting may not matter. If you use several running backs, did anybody ever notice whether it was Michael or Javante who started the games last year?
No, I don't think anybody really cared.
Nobody ever noticed that, but you knew what the numbers were at the end of the game. I think with this group, it might be Emery one game, it might not be. It might be Emery starts out there because they may go with the guy who's a little bit older, the guy, maybe, like I said, the ability to block and consistently run the right routes, the guys who can find grass, that kind of thing. Sometimes those things might trump blinding speed. It also depends on where they want these guys fitting in. So I wouldn't even worry about it. He'll be in the rotation, and he'll be high up in the rotation. He's going to get on the field. He's going to have opportunities to make plays.
Definitely.
Wide receiver and running back, I think Chandler will probably be the starter at running back early on. But again, I just don't think those things matter in certain position groups.
Definitely. I think he'll be undoubtedly be a key member of Carolina's wide receiver core like we've touched on. And what exactly his role is, we'll see. But he'll definitely be a guy that's playing a lot of snaps. So it's a good place to wrap this one up. AJ, the Emery Simmons edition of our UNC football ISO series. If you haven't seen the other videos we've done, like I said, you can find a playlist on the front of our channel, and you can watch the basketball and football ISOs videos we've been running out over the past couple of months. But I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Make sure you also head on over to our website, TarHeelIllustrated.com. Sign up for just $8.33 a month. The link is in the description below. But you guys know the drill. Like, share, hit that notification bell so you know every time we upload. And, of course, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks.